why do you think that Natsumi is like low multiversal?
Mainly due to her statements creating or at least coming from multiple timelines.
Well, no, what it is, right, is that in data life, they're bound by causality, right? Like, Shido
Right.
create a new timeline, it doesn't actually mean he's 4D from that. Because data life
Oh.
follows space-time laws, like, say, our reality does. Okay, here, let me put this right. Ed Gein, and then also X, Y, and Z dimensions were mentioned in data life. You know what that means, right?
Yeah.
It means data life follows similar theoretical laws to our reality, except, the spirits realizes a bunch of magic shit, right?
Yeah.
You understand that data life has no confirmed multiverse, which to be low
Oh.
multiversal in data life, you'd have to confirm that there's a multiverse in the first place.
Oh. Really?
Yeah, and even then, right, the strongest in data life is Mio Takamiya, who's Universal Plus.
Ooh.
Which, by the way, right, the mirror world is just a pocket dimension Natsumi has.
Dang it.
Hold on.
You
I'm talking. Hold on, I'm talking about
all
data
right.
life. So. Now, is there any?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Shido and Eden.
Okay, so first things first, Shido's relative to the spirits at 100% of their power by volume 18 or 19. It's been proven because of feats alone. But Shido early on is only like, give or take, maybe comparable to them, even in just the limited dresses. And even then, that's a bit of a stretch. So
Yeah.
Shido only really becomes powerful later on. By the way, she's kind of fodder.
Oof.
So.
Ooh.
All right, let's see. Naya Honjo, she's a popular one. People like to bring up. The narrative world is something Naya has laws over, with her with her fucking with her Demon King. When
Oh.
really her fantasy world is just something she can manipulate to become true. So
Dang it.
that's also a pocket dimension as well, since in data life pocket dimensions are more apparent than say actual space times. Because by the way, Kurumi, you know how her how her time rift is actually just a pocket dimension of space time.
Really?
Yeah, that's what her time dome is. It's just some pocket dimension of space time where like everything's frozen in there, and she and whoever she commands can move around in it, can move in it.
Yeah.
So
Ooh.
Data Live more or less works with pocket dimensions rather than actual dimensions.
All right.
Ooh.
So, is there any actual questions you have about Data Life that I can answer? Because I can
Let's
answer any
see.
questions you have right now.
Who's the
Right
strongest
now,
person?
I have no more questions.
Yeah.
No, not at the moment.
All right. So I can actually explain how the electrons work, right? You
All
want me to
right.
do it right now? All right. And
Yeah.
this will go for everyone in here who's actually interested in Data Life. So first things first, you have Shido, who varies on his levels of strength depending on his angels, and also just depending how strong he is, because he varies throughout the entire series. Obviously, you have Shido. Then, of course, you have the limited dress spirits. Then after that, you have the full form spirits. And after that, you have the inverse spirits. And then you have Murkrow, who's relative to them, arguably above them with Shifu release. And after that, you have Mio Takamiya, right?
Right.
That's just the spirits. After that, you have you have Isaac Westcott, who with the Demon King Beelzebub is a Magus relative to Mio Takamiya. You have things such as say Fraxidus, which is arguably relative to a full form spirit, though that's kind of weird to argue. Then of
True.
course there's also say a DEM worship, which is say relative to the Fraxidus, which again would be arguably relative to a full dress spirit. But we know the
All right.
scale below. based off the fact that Kaguya and Yuzuru shot at a DEM warship. Then of course there's also various things like say DEM characters like say Adeptus 3 or say Ellen or some other character, right?
Right.
Again, those characters would scale more or less to limited address spirits. We know this because Artemisia Ashcroft, who was Adeptus 3, fought Origami in Volume 15, who had a realizer, combined it with her astral dress, or limited astral dress, mind you, and was relative, if not above, Artemisia.
Pretty much.
Yeah, so. Let's see, what else is there to add? Oh, yeah. Don't forget, right, like, there's also general levels of strength depending with the spirits, because every spirit has a different level of hacks potency. Like, for example, Miku has hacks that arguably works on an inverse spirit, though not to a very wide degree.
Oh yeah,
However,
that's an upgrade.
Miku isn't really offensive, right? She more or
Right.
less just has like binding and mind control. That's all she really has, right? Then you have
Right.
characters like say Toka, who's just an offensive person naturally. Then of course you have other characters like say Natsumi, who again is kind of offensive but chooses more or less to be support or just to be the saboteur. It's how she is. She's an asshole. And of course you have Naya Hanjo, who again is kind of offensive but more or less just likes to write your death in her notebook. Just make it. Then of course you also have Yoshino, who's one of the weaker spirits, but again would be arguably relative to Toka, based off the fact she's relative to Toka, when they're both in their limited dresses and that spirits have access to 1% of their power when sealed. So,
Alright.
yeah. Now, while it is kind of odd to argue them in their full dresses and kind of difficult to argue them while in just their limited dresses, we do at least know that there is various degrees of scaling between the spirits, right?
Ooh.
Because in
Right.
Data Live, the main thing we should look at is the spirits. Everything else kind of dies to them.
Ooh.
Oh.
So,
Yeah, Blueface baby.
G.
yeah. So, I mean that should be it, right?
Right.
Okay. So,
That shit will never
uh,
get old. Me saying blue.
does anyone
Yeah.
have any questions about Data Live scaling? Like, where do the characters go?
Like our
Wait.
daylight characters usually solar system or can be argued universal.
No, it's you're either Island to Universal Plus.
Oh.
Is the strongest character Universal Plus?
Yeah, there's no median. You're either Island, Large Island, give or take small town, or Universal Plus. That's how Data Live works.
Is the weakest town.
The weakest you can say is small town level, but that's mainly if you're like a 1% spirit. Like say Origami after she's sealed. And then of course you have say inverse spirits who are large island. Then of course you have say Merkura who's also large island, but it's like higher than the inverse spirits whenever she activates Shifu release. Then of course you have Mio, Takemiya, and also New Existence Toka, who are Universal Plus. Those two are the strongest at the end of the series. Now let's take a look at Mayuri Judgment because people love to talk about Mayuri Judgment. Actually, so Mayuri is a bit of a weird character. All we really know is that she's a bit of a composite of like the other spirits minus minus Naya and Murkuro and Mio, right? All we really know about Mayuri is that she's like, give or take, between the spirits and the inverse spirits. That's all we really know.
Come on.
And that we know that in Data Live, if you like amp someone else with Ryuku, you temporarily can use your 100% power, or at least something comparable to it, because Toka had a incomplete full form spirit form while amped and managed to one shot an actual Demon King. So,
All right.
now let's take out the real reincarnation of the other things. We don't have to worry about that because that's non-canon. That's not at all related to the main material. Okay.
Oh,
The only
dang
things
it.
you should look at is like maybe the interviews with the spirits, data bullet, data fragment, data live, and the memory fragments. Okay.
You leave that in the
That might have stuff in there, but that's just mainly mainly memories or like background or context info.
Flower, please mute.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, please mute. We're trying to talk about daylight scaling.
Okay.
All right, now do you have actual questions that we can like answer? Because I can answer for you of anything you want to know about
All
the
right.
series. So, does anyone have any questions they want to ask?
Like, are the hacks are platonic?
No, they're not.
Dang it.
How hacks work in Data Live is that there's your hacks, your inherent hacks, and your absolute hacks. Okay. And data
Alright.
live hacks and inherent hacks, we all know the difference between them. You have this hack passively, and of course you have this other hack you have to apply, right? But then
Right.
this absolute hack would be something that would follow a particular law. Like say it will always work on universal plus beings, even though you say large island. We know this because Mercurio has ceiling hacks that Mia to not work on her.
And the reason you know it's not that is because laws are lesser than concepts.
Exactly. In data live, laws work more like principles, and principles are lesser than.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, the only thing we can say for Murkrow that would be conceptual would only be her ceiling hacks. However, that's not her absolute hack. Because her ceiling hacks is more or less large island, maybe a bit higher, it's been argued to planet, though it's most consistently large island. Her principal hack is only universal plus. Nothing else though.
Alright.
So now the whole thing about Sandalphon is also a bit of a weird statement because all we really know is that like Toka compared Sandalphon to be an idealistic concept given form about how it's bound to the wish of the user. So again, that's a bit of a weird statement from Toka because we know Toka while she knows everything about Sandalphon. We can't exactly quantify an idealistic concept, right?
Right.
Because it's not exactly conceptual. Like it may just be that it's her idea of her weapon given form and whatnot, or maybe it's some degree of a conceptual attack. But again, that would actually contradict data live scaling, because most data live characters have spiritual based hacks, or say reality warping, depending if you
Yeah.
have a realizer or if you're just a spirit. So,
Pretty much.
because see the wizards in data live, right? They have their territories along with their realizers. That's what lets them that's what grants them access to say reality warping, right? Because they can make
Right.
anything a reality because their territory allows them to, right? That you could say that's like give or take on a not conceptual but spiritual level due to the fact that it can interact with Ryuku.
Right.
So, uh, but oh yeah, by the way, I want to get into that too. So for Murkrow, one big thing we talk about in Data Live, it's always Murkrow. Okay, you know why we always talk about Murkrow?
Yeah.
Okay, so can you tell me why?
Fuck.
Okay, so it's because there's only 3 characters in Data Live that have conceptual hacks. Okay, it's
Right.
Mio Takamiya, it's Toka while she's in New Existence, and of course it's Murkrow. Okay. Murkrow has their conceptual hacks, and then of course she has their principal hack. Mio has their conceptual level laws. She has their principal laws. And Toka has their conceptual abilities on par with that of Mio Takamiya when she becomes New Existence.
It's basically like a Bonkai.
Kind of, but it's more or less a permanent form with Toka as soon as she becomes New Existence. We
Let's
don't really
see.
know too much about it. All we really know is that, oh, hey, Inverse Toka created a universal space-time just to give Toka one more month to be with her loved ones before she had to go.
True.
That's all we really know about, say, New Existence, because Volume 21 comes out, say, sometime next year or, like, sometime after next year. So,
Because mainly I've been waiting to see when the series is basically finished and over so I can rescale the entire series, look back at it as a whole and what mistakes and hyperboles I had missed.
yeah, so first things first, the only thing the anime really messes up is Volume 12, and even then, they do it the same way. They make Shido more happy-go-lucky. That's the only thing they
Yeah, I
really
can
mess
agree
up
with
with,
that
like,
point.
Volume 12. But other than that, everything follows the canon material.
True.
Now, how they approach Naya Hanjo, though, would be something I'd be interested by. Because, see, when Shido was temporarily a full-form spirit in 12 or episode 12 in season 13, right? Uh,
Right.
he heard someone screaming, so he shot down a DEM transport ship that had Naya Hanjo in it.
All right.
But see, in the anime, we don't really see anything like that. We just see Shido, oh, hey, I got these powers. Let me just do this, that, because I can. It's fucking. It's just him being happy-go-lucky.
It's kind of like a you watched.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's kind of like where both have a canon material, but like the anime kind of changes things up a bit. So we have to see how they'd approach it. Like, are they
Yeah.
gonna try a plot hole? Are they gonna try, some other argument, or are they gonna like pull something Shield just did off scene? Because sometimes they'll do something off scene, or sometimes they do a retcon. Like, say, remember
Yeah.
how in High School DxD, the anime, whenever they
Yeah.
retcon Juggernaut Drive,
Yes.
we're probably gonna look at something like that in season 4. Let's be honest.
True.
Yeah, because what's gonna happen in Data Life is that they're gonna introduce Naya, and then after that they're going to introduce Kurumi, right? And then in
Right.
season 5 they're gonna go over Kurumi. Excuse me, right? And season 5 they're gonna do Kurumi, and then after that they're gonna do Mio, right?
All right.
Because season 4 would mainly just comprise of dealing with Naya Hanjo and then Mercury Hoshimi. That's all we can really gather because we know the first 4 volumes gave us all everything in season 1, and then of course everything up to volumes, and then 5 to 7 gave us season 2. Then of course 8 through 12 gave us season 3, right?
All
So
right.
then, because there's only like 8 volumes left, well, no, 9 volumes left to adapt, they're just gonna do it in like 2 more seasons. So
All right.
yeah, so, I mean that should be everything for Data Life so far, right? If you
Right.
concede that they're like not above Universal Plus.
I can see it.